ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting evening of Pretty Boy Doug Masters Kayfabe Corner. If anybody's got any questions for my guest or myself, my co-host, feel free to call at 954-246-0398. 954-246-0398. I'm happy to introduce to you tonight my guest. He just I'm trying to get him going on for a few weeks now, and he finally took time out of his schedule. He's been around the world internationally and worldwide. I'd like to bring you on there, Mr. Paul Diamond. How you doing, sir? And thank you for joining us tonight.
Doing pretty well. My pleasure being with you guys.
Hey, I appreciate it, brother. And taking time out of your busy schedule and everything. Yeah, I like to ask about every one of my guests. Starting out, who trained you and what year?
I was trained by Boris Malenko in 1985.
Oh, wow, Boris Malenko. I'm telling you. Was that about your, how many? Pardon
me? We seem to get a lot of the Malenko guys.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Hi, that's my co-host there, Sean Bryant. Just come on.
All right.
No, but yeah, was that what territory did you have when you first territory in what year? Tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, so I think you guys, I don't know, you're probably familiar. I played professional soccer before I got into wrestling, and the league I played in, North American Soccer League, folded in the fall of '84, and I had met Joe Malenko at a gym, and he had, turned me on to his father having a wrestling school. Started training there late '84, but yeah, the first actual job I got was through those guys also, and it was with Ole and NWA in Atlanta, TBS, and that was I believe February of '85.
Wow!
Oh wow!
So you started out in '85.
You wrestled just about all of the territories then.
Yeah, one or two here or there, but yeah, that was the first one. That was the first one that I started at, man. Green as grass.
Green as grass, yeah. Back in '85, from then on, I know you worked for Texas All-Star.
I did. Actually, what happened there in Atlanta, I was there for maybe a couple, 3 months, and I was living in Tampa at the time, went home for a weekend, came back for the next TV taping, and I show up, and man, Crockett had took over. Ole had sold the territory to Crockett, so there's Dusty and JJ Dillon, and all these guys, man. They got hundreds of guys, and needless to say, didn't last there very long. Just being a green guy, just learning. They let me work for about another month, and let me go after that.
Oh wow! Then from there you went on Texas All-Star.
From there, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, his name was Nick Kiniski, yeah.
Yes. My initial tag team partner was actually another guy, Frankie Lane. And that didn't last very long. I think he left to go work for Bill Watts. And then they put Nick Kiniski and I together. And, I thought I was green. Heck, Nick was even greener than I was. And so that didn't work out too well. And in fact, my next tag team partner is a guy that we all know has done great stuff in the business. Shawn Michaels was my next tag team partner.
Wow, that was for the Rockers then, wasn't it?
That was. We were called the American Force, and this was 1986 Texas All-Star Wrestling in San Antonio. We had actually did pretty well there. It was territory. They didn't run but maybe 3 or 4 days a week, but we were kind of the babyface tag team there. But Shawn had always, wanted to make it in singles, and so he was always looking to move on. And actually, the guy that trained him, Jose Lothario, hooked him up with Ray Stevens in the AWA. So Shawn left Texas All-Star and moved up to Vern's territory, and in fact, thinking he was going to get a chance to be a singles guy, well, he gets tagged with Jannetty there, and that's where the Midnight Rockers were born, of course.
Wow, that's awesome, man! You get a chance to, as they, once they teamed up, like you said, with the Rockers and stuff, and then I believe you went to Memphis CWA there in Memphis, and you tagged there for a while.
Right. Yeah, that was just brief. Jeff actually had just graduated high school, and so he started wrestling right then. He was my tag team partner for a little bit. Nothing really steady. We had worked a thing with Akio Sato and another Japanese dude, and Tojo Yamamoto, of course, was, the manager. He was still there in CWA, but it was actually, a while after that, I kind of, as a baby face, sort of came to a standstill, just wasn't advancing, wasn't moving. They didn't have any real ideas for me to move on as far as a baby face. So they turned me heel, and this is, of course, where my partner, Pat Tanaka, he showed up there in Tennessee, and we tagged there for the first time, and of course carried on for many years as Bad Company and Orient Express.
Oh yeah,
well, so you and Pat were together for years then, as far as tag teams all over.
Oh yeah. That's what we, like I said, the team was developed there in CWA, and we worked a little bit later on against Jeff Jarrett and Billy Travis. That was a pleasure to work with those guys. And then, of course, we were in Tennessee for a couple of years, from 86 to 88. Our run kind of came to an end, and Pat, knew Wahoo McDaniel, who at the time was booking for Vern Gagne in Minneapolis. And so that's how we wound up there.
Oh, wow.
I was always wondering how you wound up at the AWA, and how many years was you run there?
We were on there a couple of years from, I think we got up there in 88 and left, around 9, I guess it was 90. Yeah, it was 90 because then, Pat actually, the WWF had hired him as the original Orient Express with Akio Sato. And I had took a few months off there from the business. Really didn't know what I was going to do. And of course, I wasn't getting calls from anybody else. But eventually, after a few months after Pat was there, I got a call from WWF, but they just brought me in basically to put guys over, kind of like Barry Horowitz position, if you know what I mean. So it wasn't, but I mean, it's somewhat steady work, but just putting guys over. At that time, I really didn't have many options, so I just went ahead with it. And then, of course, shortly after that, Akio Sato decided to take on a position with, I think, one of the Japanese companies and moved back to Japan. And so now they were in a bind. Of course, they had Orient Express, of course, with one of the team members gone, and they were aware of Pat and I's, that we had been together back in CWA and stuff, and we actually in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, was actually, I think, that had a lot to do with me being a part of Orient Express. It was that day that Orient Express was supposed to meet the Rockers, and of course Sato had already left, and I happened to be on that card, so they actually put me in that tag team. So it was just Pat and I against the Rockers, and we had one of our matches against the Rockers, and they really liked what they saw. And shortly thereafter, I was home, and I got a call, and they said, "Yeah, man, they want you, put a hood on you and put you back together with Pat." So I was thrilled to have that kind of a opportunity.
Wow! First from you. Go ahead, brother.
So you and Pat obviously must have had some really good chemistry from working in Memphis, and then later going up to WWF for them to throw you in as a handicap initially, and then call you back up to form a team to continue going. What was that like working with Pat, and what made your guys' chemistry so well in the ring?
Well, you know what? I just we had spent time, obviously, kind of got seasoned there in the CWA, man. That place, really, I gotta give those guys credit, like Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler. The way they booked the territory, and they had all kinds of different matches. So it was there that we actually were able to work on our teamwork and different things. Never really knew if it was ever going to go anywhere. But no, yeah, we just kind of, got along. Both of us were fairly, or actually quite athletic, and we could bump and stuff and put people over, and and then just the exposure. So moving on from CWA to AWA, and even though AWA wasn't what it used to be, but we got some much needed exposure. They had the show on ESPN there for a bunch of time, that we got a lot of exposure there. So I think and we had worked with the Rockers there. They they dropped the tag belts to us up there. So I think WWF was aware of what we were able to do. So I don't think, and especially once they saw that match that we had in Cape Girardeau with the Rockers, I think they realized that wow, these guys actually, we could use them to do some good stuff. So I think like I said, I think that really had a lot to do with them putting us back together, because as I said, everything with us, the two of us, clicked. And then of course working with the Rockers, the four of us, man, that was just a pleasure. And I don't know if you guys ever watched the match we had with the Rockers, the 91 Royal Rumble in Miami. I mean, that was one of the best ones we've ever had. But, besides that, we worked with them again in CWA, we worked with them in AWA. So, and even not once we were done working with them, I think the office realized that no matter who we worked with, we could make them look like world beaters, basically.
Yeah, two of my favorite matches growing up were tag matches. Were watching you guys with Dally as your manager, and wrestling with the Rockers up in the AWA.
Right.
That title match you guys had. And then the 91 match is Orient Express against those guys. And the Royal Rumble was just, those were two phenomenal tag matches.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree. And, it just, I don't know, it was just something between the four of us. You just really didn't have to think, or worry about somebody's going to mess up. We all kind of just had it and really gelled together, both teams. And again, everybody was, young, athletic, willing to, work hard, bump, put each other over. So yeah, no, that clicked just great. I mean, it was awesome. And anytime that, we had a opportunity to work with those guys, it was a pleasure.
Did you enjoy working against Shawn Michaels or teaming with Shawn Michaels like you did in Texas All-Star?
Oh, I definitely, I've enjoyed working against them. That was just, great mind, great athlete. And, we've, in the WWF, there was a couple of times where, I had singles matches against them where they kind of split up the tag teams and, Pat worked Jannetty and I worked Shawn, and no, man. And also, I don't know if you guys are aware, when Shawn had his wrestling school, Texas Wrestling Alliance, in '99, and I was there as his trainer and a chief bottle washer, kind of, so to speak. But we wound up having that match. 4-4 for history, April 4th of 2000. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. And this is when Shawn had already had his back surgery and he was out of wrestling for a couple of years. And, still, I thought that match went over pretty well. And just for the simple fact that he hadn't worked for a long time. And, so it was like a hardcore match. But I enjoy that anytime, working with him. The guy was just a great worker.
There he was, man. Of course.
I thought.
So tell us about the Max Moon story. How did that come about?
The Max Moon story. All right. Well, yeah, let me give you the. So, obviously everybody's aware that, Conan was the original, whatever they're going to call it, Comet Kid, Max Moon, whatever. And I don't know why or how. I mean, he had come to a couple of the television tapings, and, they tried to see how this was all going to work. And then after a couple of TV tapings, show up at the next one, and for whatever reason, he was gone. He had disappeared. I don't know if he had quit. As far as him, how they parted ways, him and WWF, I really have no idea. Well, what happens then is at this particular TV taping where, he's no longer there, and they have three, or I guess they still do, I don't know, they had three sisters from Chicago that, used to make costumes for all the guys, all the gimmick costumes and stuff. Well, so I was talking to them outside of Vince's office, and we were kind of being a little bit loud and stuff. And I was telling them, man, they made you guys rush to make this Max Moon or whatever the heck costume it was going to be, and now you don't even have anybody to put in it. I was telling them, shoot, you make a couple of small alterations, I bet you I could fit into it. And as we were talking at that time, Vince stuck his head out of his office there, and he goes, what are you guys talking about? What's all the noise about? I said, no, just, telling the girls here that, he rushed with this Max Moon thing, and now you don't have anybody to put in it. And, I thought if made a few small alterations, well, I bet you I could fit in it. And he just kind of, and, sort of turned away and shut the door in his office. And we continued to carry on with the conversation. And then maybe about 30 minutes later, the door of his office opens, and, he looks at me. I'm still standing there, and he's pointing at me and go, "You, come here." What?
No,
what? I thought, what the hell did I do now? What's wrong? He said, no, come here. So he has me come into the office, and he goes, you know what? I thought about what you had said a little while ago. And he goes, it's yours. You got it. Do what you want with it. He stuck out his hand, shook my hand, and basically that's how I fell into the Max Moon thing.
Oh, wow.
So talk about being in the right place at the right time, right?
Yeah. How long did you run with that?
Well, I probably about, 4 or 5 months. What had happened, and they had put me, I was working with Terry Taylor on the road, and we were having some awesome matches, and, and got a call from the office and stuff, and they were very pleased, and, they had planned, I guess, the opening match of the 93 Rumble in Sacramento was going to be Max Moon and Terry Taylor. Well, obviously, that never took place. I don't know if you guys are aware of the story as to why, I was let go, but we can definitely go there if you like.
Yeah, sure, brother. Yeah. Let everybody know. You're willing to talk about it.
Yeah. No. I think, there's probably, people that are aware of what happened. But so, back in Tatanka had come to WWF and stuff, and he was living in Charlotte at the time, and I had worked with him when he came in, first probably a couple of months, just kind of, he was green and teaching him and stuff. Well, we sort of became friends, and his wife wound up taking a trip to Tampa, and my wife helped them to find a house to rent, and they moved to Tampa. And, it was, both of the wives kind of became close and stuff when we were on the road, and, this and that. Well, kind of a silly thing. And of course I don't know who's obviously my fault at the time, but, Tatanka's wife, sort of, he just kind of, I don't know, he didn't treat her too well, whatever, at least she didn't think so. And, we started kind of became a little friendly and became a little too friendly, as if you know what I mean. Basically, we wound up having an affair for several months while, Tatanka was working for the company. So, and what eventually happened was, it was, I think, the end of maybe October of 92, he was wrestling in Orlando. I was in Boston, and his wife had showed up in Boston, and she had rented a car, and not exactly sure how or what happened, but she wound up getting into a pretty bad car wreck. Her car ran into a telephone pole, and she wound up lacerating her liver and having surgery and stuff. And of course, it's at that point that everybody kind of got the idea what was going on between us. And, I was never really told that this is the reason why you're being let go. But at that point, that match that was supposed to go on with Terry Taylor never took place. They had completely changed. Just took it off the card and put me in the Royal Rumble for 2 minutes in and out, and I was gone. And really, I didn't work anymore for them. The only other thing I did is they were going on a European tour, and Marty Jannetty, I'm not sure what happened, but he got fired, so they needed somebody to replace him on that tour. I wound up going on that tour for like next 10 days. After that, nobody would ever talk to me from the office. Nobody would say anything. They just waited till, the time ran out and my contract expired. And basically I got the pink slip, and that was that. Also the weird thing kind of is that I have now been married since May of 31st of last year. And the woman that I'm married to is the woman that I had the affair with 27 years ago.
Yeah, talking about full circle.
Right. Yeah. So, that wasn't cool the way that worked out, but it was just, what are you going to do? Things happen. And I do believe, I think that kind of stuff went on, later on in, the 90s and the 2000s, and nobody ever got punished as I did, but hey, whatever, I shouldn't have done it, and I deserved it. So whatever it was, it was. But that's how the whole Max Moon thing got started and ended way before its time.
Wow. Sound like a Tatanka thing. Wow.
Right. Yeah. He wasn't happy, obviously. And I guess, that's not something that, nobody. I mean, it was kind of like the unwritten rule. You just didn't do that. Well, it just kind of happened, and I don't know. What are you going to say? I don't have any excuses other than, probably shouldn't have, neither of us should have gone in that direction, but it happened, and what are you going to do?
If I could ask one question here, going back to the AWA when they turned you babyface, and I'm surprised that they never brought back the television title after Greg Gagne retired and put it around your waist, because I thought if anyone was really making the progress as a singles wrestler, it was you there, and it looked like they were trying to find you another partner to work with against the AWA champions at that time, the Destruction Crew there in 1990.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it like teaming up with some of those guys? My favorite that I saw you team up with would obviously be when they were putting you and Del Wilkes together.
Yeah. No, that was cool, But the thing with the AWA, at that time, it was on its last legs. There wasn't a whole lot left. They weren't running, a whole lot of shows anymore. And I was just working there to kind of sort of just do what I could to make a little bit of money. And I was actually looking, for a place to go at the time. But the writing was on the wall. AWA was on its last leg. It wasn't going anywhere. What was going to happen is basically, what did happen. They went out of business. So I think that's, I mean, they were maybe, trying to still kind of keep the television programming sort of going. And that's why, they tagged me with Del Wilkes and stuff. But it just, when all you got is TV, you just can't, keep on going that way when you're not running. It just weren't running very many other towns, and we're very, very limited on talent at that point. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's basically what happened. They just were pretty much done.
Yeah, it was very sad, very, very sad time there. I mean, I was hoping to see it pick up when they would bring in a guy like Nikita Koloff to wrestle do a program with Larry Zbyszko, but it was like, it definitely was the end time there for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
What took you guys to EC? How did you get involved in ECW after being fired or whatever, or let go from WWE?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, Paul Heyman actually was in Tennessee for a while. That's where I met him. There in 86, 87. He came in for a while. I think Larry Sharp had something to do with that. But so that's where I'd met Paul, and then he was working with ECW. It was involved quite heavily. So that's how I wound up, working there. Actually, worked there when they were kind of getting started in 93, and just kind of at the beginning, but also wound up working with them for a little bit there in like 97, 98, when things were going much better. But at that point, they sort of already had their created their stars, the Dudleys and Tommy Dreamer and RVD and stuff. So there just wasn't a place for me at that point. I worked some for them, but not what I would have liked. It just didn't work out. I wasn't there for very long. And like I said before, shortly after that, I moved on to San Antonio and was helping Sean with his wrestling school.
You still talk with Sean? And
you know what? I have not talked to him in quite a while, but I have been actually trying to get in touch. There's some people I'd like to try and get a number on them and get back in touch with them. The thing there just kind of ended rather abruptly. He decided to go back to worked for Vince and stuff. And basically, what happened there, I mean, it was really very cool deal there for a little while. That that first class that we trained turned out Brian Danielson, also Spanky, Brian Kendrick, Lance Cade, God bless his soul, he passed away, but a young guy that did well also. So, man, we had 3-4 guys out of that first class that wound up signing with the, with WWE. So, no, and we had a little, half-hour TV show there on San Antonio television. And the problem was just basically that Sean wasn't able to secure any kind of financing, or nobody would advertise, basically. And so the money that he was making from these guys that he was training in the wrestling school was sort of going to, the TV show being produced. And so that just wasn't what he was, I think, intending to do. He was actually trying to, hopefully, when you have a business, you'd like to make money, not break even. So I think, when he had the opportunity to go back to Vince, I think, decided that was probably the better option at that point. I guess, his health, his back had healed, and he was well enough to work some more. So that's what he decided to do.
Hi. Paul. Go ahead. You got any questions for Mr. Paul Diamond?
Yeah. What made you want to get into the wrestling business?
I didn't want a real job. And I'm kind of being funny, but I'm also being serious. I've wanted to make a living at sports, regardless of what it was. And after my soccer career, the soccer league died, ran out of money, folded, or whatever you want to call it. I honestly, I did not want a real job. And, I was what I thought a good athlete, and had some connections. And so, I thought, well, let me give this a try and see where we go.
Yeah, pro wrestling is pretty neat to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty neat to do as well. It's so much fun when you get in front of, a full arena of people, and all the noise and cheering and booing. Man, it is just awesome. And it's not so much even, you just kind of, it's a great feeling. I mean, I would do it, the money and all that is great, but you kind of would almost do it for nothing once you have that feeling and realize and feel the crowd cheering, and man, this is great.
Yeah, like Great Hollywood said, there's nothing like being under those lights.
You're absolutely right. That is correct.
Yeah, and it was kind of neat because growing up, I watched World Class, so I know pretty much.
Okay. All right. So you're a Von Erich fan.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but I remember. In fact, I met his boys.
Did you?
Kevin.
Wow. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I worked with Kerry in the WWF for a while. So yeah. Unfortunately, only one of them is still alive. It's too bad.
Yeah, I know, and it's sad that they all felt like they had to take their own lives.
Right. Yeah. Very sad. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll let you go and let someone else call in because I want to be fair about this.
Okay. No problem.
It's nice talking to you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Well, what was it like working with Kevin Sullivan and Taz?
Well, I don't know. That wasn't my favorite team to work with. I mean, it was, they were a different style, and, I'd prefer to, work with, like the Rockers, or even, we worked with Jim Neidhart and Owen, or even the Bushwhackers. I mean, Kevin and you know, there's just kind of a different way to have to work and stuff. And we tried to do the best we could, but it wasn't something that I really particularly enjoyed.
Yeah, Kevin's always curious. I've shared a locker room a few times up here with him in Northwest, and because he comes up here and does some appearances and teachings, and he always seems like he's so serious and aggressive and ready to tear somebody's limb off.
Yeah, and other than that, for that brief, couple of matches, never really. I don't know Kevin that well, or so I can't really say. You might know him better than I do. Actually, I just was never around for an extended period of time at the same place where he was at. So.
Now, how about Taz? How did you and Taz get on? About the same way Kevin did, or?
No, Taz was fine. I had no problem there. But again, it wasn't. Those were just a couple of people that I wasn't around for a long time to sort of get to know, about who they were, or even I'm sure if we wound up working with them more and more matches, we kind of get the idea of what kind of more stuff they like to do. But it was just a brief thing, and we just tried to do the best we could.
Yeah, yes, sir. Hey, how about your Japanese tours? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure.
Who you work for?
You work
for, yeah.
The first time I went over was actually for Baba, and that was when I was in Tennessee, and Akio Sato was working there in Tennessee, and he was like the American booker for Baba. So here I was, basically 1 year in the business, and get sent to Japan. I really didn't know how things worked over there, that first time, and it was quite interesting, and sometimes you had to kind of fight for your life, especially those young boys would kind of test you and, be kind of stiff with you, and unless, you couldn't let them get away with that. But I, didn't have the knowledge to know that right off the bat, but sort of as, time went on, I learned that you didn't just let people take advantage of you. I didn't quite understand why they, believed they had to do that, but that's the way it was. So, so that was the first tour. And then WWF had an agreement, had sent some guys over there when Tenryu had his company, and that was fun. It was great because there was actually a couple of guys that came into Texas All-Star back then that I knew from San Antonio days that were now in Japan, and sort of a pretty good name. And so yeah, it was fun there. No problem. And then also several times I did wind up going for New Japan. And that was probably my best experience, great company. I don't know, I really haven't followed much of the Japanese wrestling here lately, but when I went in the mid-90s and stuff, I used to go a couple of times a year, and I probably would have lasted a lot longer, but, one time I went and I had a match with, Liger, and I wound up breaking my foot. And, this was kind of halfway through like a 4-week tour. And of course, they're good for the money. It doesn't matter if you get hurt the first day or, in the middle or whenever, they'll give you all your money and, send you home. Well, so that happened. I broke my foot, and then, I came back on another tour. It went well. And then, following in that one, the third one, I came, in again and, wound up tearing my groin. And so basically, 2 out of 3 tours there, I had got injured, and I think that basically sort of wrote me off. My body obviously wasn't. I don't know. It just didn't make it through the rigorous activity of the Japanese tours, and I think that's basically they didn't want to just keep paying me to come there and for a week or a couple of weeks and give me all my money, and I keep getting injured. So I think basically that's if I had not gotten injured, I believe I would have had probably a much longer career over there. I did enjoy it, and just the fact that the injury sort of knocked me out of there.
You had a little bit of a run in USWA with Steve Dunn, a.k.a. Steve Dahl here in the Pacific Northwest.
Right. Yeah, man.
What was like working with Steve?
Oh, no, Steve was a great guy, and he had a really good mind for the business. He always, I think, I was always trying, get involved in the booking end of things. And I think he worked for Don Owens back in, Portland, Oregon for a while. WA, it was cool, and he kind of started to get involved in the booking end of it as well. But Steve was a good guy. We were good friends. We got along. And USWA, it was what it was. Again, it was just, they were trying to run some shows. The best thing about that was they still had that live Memphis TV, which, of course, was great. But the territory in itself wasn't, doing that well, and there just wasn't a whole lot of talent. WWF would send some of their guys, there to kind of train or learn, or if they had them Kane, right? So he was in there as like the Unabomber or something like that. But so they sent him there to sort of season him and stuff before he was going to do the Kane gimmick. So then they had some other guys, I think. Kurt Angle came in, and some of the other guys that wound up working there. It was just kind of, it started sort of being like the first sort of training ground for WWF. Of course, now, they've got all that in Orlando and Ohio Valley and different things. But yeah, I guess USWA kind of was the front runner as far as that goes. But no, like you said, as far as Steve Dahl, I had a good guy. We got along, and it was fun working with him. Of course, it was just a temporary thing, and just trying to stay in the business and survive, I guess. It was never going to be, what Pat and I had prior to that. So, but hey, it was what it was. Like I said, I enjoyed working with them, and God bless his soul. He was a good guy.
Yeah.
Who was
you worked with Steve for a while, didn't you?
What's that?
Yeah, I worked with Steve. Oh, Sean was talking to me about asking.
Steve. Oh, yeah.
I said, I worked with Steve when I was down working for Carlos World Wrestling Council when I was teaming with Ron Starr.
Yeah.
And they brought Steve and Rex King in time.
Right.
Well done in WWF, and after they left Puerto Rico, but I worked with Steve. God bless both of ourselves, man. It's pretty
right.
It was all just a sudden deal, I think Dahl passed. He was on life support for so many long time. How many weeks? His wife wouldn't take him off, and then Rex, he had. What
did happen with Steve Dahl? What did he pass from?
He went in.
He died with complications from back surgery.
Oh,
he died on the operating table.
No way. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's the story I got from Rex. I was at the end of Rex's life a couple years ago. I was in the process of trying to get Rex some help. He really wanted to come back out here. He wanted to come back out to the Northwest. He was struggling down in Florida. He was living at home. and he just wanted to start over. He wanted to open a school, and he knew Portland was near and dear to his heart, and he had a lot of friends out here, and he just couldn't get it together. He kept struggling with addiction, and you know, it just tore him down. I talked to him about a day or day and a half before he passed, and he was really good. He was all excited. He had some things on the plate where he was looking like he was going to be able to come up here. And then all of a sudden, I got a call from his son about 6 a.m. Hey, Dad just died about 2 hours ago in his sleep. And
yeah, man. Wow. I had no idea that, you know, that he had a problem with substance abuse. I never really was around, you know, Rex for a little bit, but not very long, so I wasn't aware. But I mean, actually, I thought if you would have asked me, I probably would have thought Steve had a bigger problem than Rex.
You have another caller here. Doug, you have another caller.
Hello, caller. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, man? This is Big Daddy Johnny Class. What you doing, Doug?
No, not a whole lot. What's going on?
Yeah, man. You know, you asked me to be on the show tonight. You know, up here. I'm a promoter from up here in Virginia, man. How you been doing, brother?
I'm just fine. What's going on?
I just want to know how's everything been going with you, man. I hope everything's doing well.
Yeah, everything, you know, doing about as good as it can be. Actually, having knee replacement surgery next week, so kind of a little apprehensive about that. But other than that, you know, trying to stay busy with, you know, autograph signings, meet and greets, whoever will have me. Love to, you know, come out and talk to the fans, sign autographs, take pictures, whatever, man.
Yeah, I've been. I should be having some kind of surgery on my knees too, man. You know, after 20 years of professional wrestling, it's pretty rough on you. But I'm almost gonna let you know before I go out here, man. You know, my brother, Handsome Jimmy Love, has got a show. You know, he's a pure pro professional wrestling down here in Virginia. He's out of Danville, Virginia. They're doing really well. They got 2 shows this month. One is August the 10th out in Rocky Mount, Virginia, and then August 17th in Pelham, North Carolina, man. If you ever get a chance, y'all like to tell your crowd to go out and check him out. Pure Pro Professional Wrestling, Handsome Jimmy Love. He guarantees the best.
All right, man. Sounds good.
All right, brother. Well, I hope your knees don't get well and everything. I'll be praying for you, man. We love you. God bless you. May the Lord bless you.
All right. Thank you so much. You too.
Take you, Doug. Bye now.
Thank you, caller. All right, bye-bye.
All right, man. So somebody's got to promote their shows, right?
Yeah, sad part is, you know, he didn't know if he was. Sad part is, he didn't know if he was talking to. He didn't know if he was talking to you or Paul.
Right, exactly.
I know. He just wanted to get on and promote his show. It sounded like, you know. Well.
Yeah.
You know, social media,
right.
Nothing like social media and everything. Yeah, you were just talking about your what you're doing now and everything. Well, I guess before we wrap this up, hey, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you. You're on Facebook and.
I am on Facebook, you know, so they can get a hold of me that way. Really, probably that's the only way. You know, if they just message me on Facebook, I'll get back to anybody. You know, I'm in contact with, you know, some folks that help me get booked out as far as, you know, meet and greets and autograph signings and such. But I am out in Los Angeles and, you know, so I'll be out, obviously with this knee surgery next week, be out for a little bit, but, I do have an appearance, October 5th in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and one in November 16th in New York City. That's what's booked for now. I'm not sure, you know, what else may come along, but, that is, you know, as I said, I enjoy still doing this. I've been kind of out of the autograph signing, meet and greet stuff out for a number of years, but man, I realize I still have fans out there. I've done some, Facebook Live things, and there's people out there that I guess still like to get pictures with me, come and see me, talk to me, whatever the case may be. And I love doing the same. I appreciate them, for the support that they gave me throughout my career. And so, yeah, I love to do those things and just make the fans realize that, how important they were, obviously, throughout my whole career.
How many years career?
Man, well, probably close to about 20.
20.
Yeah, 1986. So, yeah. So that, I guess, the body kind of not willing to take that. Like I said, I'm actually going to have both knees replaced and my left shoulder. So the next year is probably going to be a little rough, but still trying to get out there as much as I can.
And sir, by experience, I've had both my knees up, brother, and it's 110% better, man. You'll shoot, man. You'll if no infection gets involved, no complications, man. You'll be up and running in no time. I mean, they got that now, man. They got the stuff.
It is great. It's great to hear that. That's great to hear that. Like I said, because I'm just really not sure what to expect.
Yeah, mine. Oh, yeah. Right now, they can get you out of bed, man. Like, as soon as the anesthesia wears off and you're back and anxious to walk, on there up and got you walking down the halls and stuff. They did me anyway, and I looked around and a lot more of them doing it. So it's a great experience, and you'll love it wholeheartedly, man. But, well, Paul, I appreciate you for calling in tonight, being on Dope Masters Kayfabe Corner. I appreciate it, brother, so much.
My pleasure, guys. My pleasure.
Your time, your expertise, and all the years you've been in the business, and you're still out there rock and rolling. So anybody out there wants to meet Paul Diamond, get him on Facebook. I'm sure
they can always get in touch with you, and I'm sure you can reach out to me. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Paul.
All right. You have a good one now. Bye-bye.
You too. Thank you. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. It's Paul Diamond. He's been around the world to the highways and byways and some points in between. Well, Mr. Sean, what do you think, brother, about the show? It was a good show. You had a lot of
it was a good show. You get anything from Rock?
Nope, nobody's called in yet except that one guy there, and I think he was one of the callers that was coming in, but now that wouldn't Rock, so I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. So,
yeah, because he hasn't been on in 2 hours and hasn't responded to me neither.
All right, we'll just wrap it up for this week anyway. Well, fans, we get down in Dallas, Texas, in Bedford, Texas, right outside of Dallas-Fort Worth. Tomorrow night, Metroplex Wrestling is going to be there. You can look them up online on Facebook and Twitter, and just look at our Metroplex Wrestling. They wrestle every Saturday night at 8 o'clock Central Time. They're in Dallas, Texas. They're one of the biggest independent organizations that's been running since World Class in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, since World Class shut down back in the day, back years ago. So if you want to check them out, I'm going to be down there hopefully.
One-legged Doug Masters is going to get in there and take an ass beating.
Yeah. I'm going to go in there and try to show them boys what to do if I can get in the ring. But other than that, I'm going to be down there looking for an office job. Well, Sean, you got any, you're going to let me know that this week we're going to have Bruce Hart on next week?
Yeah, we should be. I don't think it'll be an issue. I just got to wait for them to get back from their trip and double check with them.
All right, awesome. Yeah, and the 23rd of this month, we got Jim Valiant. He's a wrestling historian. He's got his own podcast. He's got his own, little show he does. He's from the Portland, Oregon area. He's up the area. He's a Pacific Northwest guy. I know Sean knows him real well.
Who?
And then August, Jim Valley.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And August the 30th, I got Miss Jeannie Clark, Lady Blossom. She's going to be back on our show. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, Until next week, be good. If not, be good at it. And remember, no one is as good as a pretty boy.